And to second resolution number 8, I would like to call Councillor Graham Campbell. So welcome, Graham.
Afternoon conference and delegates, welcome, and visitors too. It will not be surprising to you that I'm supporting this motion and moving it and seconding it with my esteemed colleague, Valerie Love. We've both worked for many years at the coalface of this issue, supporting refugees, defending their rights, protesting at Dungavel, and I look forward to the day, if there's just one good reason to have an independent Scotland, it's the day that we can close the doors to Dungavel IRC for good. And if there's a second reason, the second reason is that we in Scotland have shown that there is a humane way to deal with refugees and asylum seekers. We are the country of Nicholson Street, Edinburgh. We're the country of Kenmure Street, Glasgow. That's how we stay. We want to welcome refugees, not treat them as a hostile element. So if you're listening, UK government, this is how a country greets and welcomes people who are fleeing wars and persecutions. We welcome them into our homes. And if we did that for Ukrainians, look at how quickly and rightly safe routes became available. 25,000 of our citizens offered up their homes to welcome refugees. Our government sponsored 7,000 people as refugees from Ukraine. But what about the people from Afghanistan? What about the people from Yemen, the DRC? In fact, Syria, Eritrea, in fact, the nationalities of all the people who are on those boats crashing off those Greek islands this week. What about them? What about safe routes for them? And this is the point. I'm old enough, and you might concede this, I'm old enough to remember John Reid being Home Secretary and saying that the UK asylum system was not fit for purpose, that the Home Office was not fit for purpose. Well, here we are, 20 years later, Labour and Tory governments competing with each other to be more racist than the government that came before, locking the doors, pushing the boats back, pushing them to Rwanda, wherever it is. They're competing to be as racist as possible with our immigration policy. Well, Scotland wants out of that because we want to have a humane policy with our alternatives to detention. And we've shown in our communities where that's possible. You know, we've closed the mother and baby unit in Glasgow, which was a very inappropriate way to basically imprison people for having the temerity to claim asylum in our country. Now, we want control of our borders. We want control of our immigration, not to keep people out, but to welcome people in. As our First Minister says, we're a large country with a large geography, with a small population. We're not full. Come, and you'll be welcomed. Now, our alternatives are, of course, we want communities to host people. We want communities to have their resources. Now, we know that right now hotels are having to be used to accommodate people. We know that they're not long-term the answer, but we know that there's a great pressure on us because that's a great pressure on public housing and indeed on the private rented sector to provide the homes that we need. But this government has done more than any other government on these islands to build more social housing for rent, build more housing generally so that we can have that supply up, so that more of us can be accommodated, and therefore more people who come can be accommodated. Obviously, that's a longer-term answer, but right now, because we don't have the powers over our immigration policy, we cannot open up our spending, expand and increase the resources that we need for community integration. These are the alternatives to detention. It's communities hosting, it's communities welcoming. And I ask you to support this motion because it expresses what I feel about Scotland and what the SNP expresses on Scotland's behalf in government. So I beg you to support it.